Hi, today is, I've already been on today, but today again is the 13th of the April 2020. I like the look of it on telling when I saw it written out. Anyway, it just makes me think. Sometimes I remember specific things on dates, and I remember my great aunt's will, which was her death date was one of the lotto numbers was made on the 6th of April, but her gardener pretended to be a husband and basically he claimed everything and he was like a heavy guy, so we had to let that go. um, he claimed that her will was not a true will, and even he had access to her home, and the police told us that we should, you know, change the locks or something. I remember he threatened my life if I were to go to the funeral. My dad and my sister went over to her house to collect some things, and he gave them some fake jewelry when my aunt was a person that wore gold and, you know, real jewelry. And my sister did retrieve, she got one painting, a beachside painting, and that was about it. And I do remember my aunt saying, and I am going off track, but this was a few days before she died. And I actually didn't even know that she was ill. She said, "Oh, you'll have a lot to clean up when I go." But I mean, we weren't even allowed into her house. And in the end, because the guy that pretended to be a husband had been on Centrelink for so many years, um, I think Centrelink ended up getting her place. Well, they got most of the funds from her place because they had to pay back. Because if my great aunt was with the guy, technically they were de facto, but they weren't. And so you can't have it both ways, Mr. Boskoski. He claimed to be her de facto, but he didn't live there. And yes, you can be de facto and not live with someone. But on her death certificate, he actually signed my uncle Leonard's name, and all the um, birth, deaths, and marriages said, well, he signed it and it was a typo. That's fraud if you sign someone else's name. It's not a typo. But anyway, we'll let that go. I've really gone off track, but basically, I just want to document, like, I don't want you to see me because I'm half dressed, but on my wall there is, you know, my lotto things. On the floor here is, this is pretty disgusting, but it's what I'm going through. And these are boxes in the garage. And on one occasion, like, I've got things that are stuck together on the floor here, and I'm going through them. And usually, when I filter through these, I send them to a friend of mine down south because, like, some magazines, I've already put them away, but some magazines, like for some reason, these are wet, and they're, you know, old, my son's old little books, first colouring in books, which I've still kept. But most things I won't pull them out, but they are stuck together really, really badly. And I'll show you now. I'll show you actually. Try undoing things like this. You can't really. I mean, technically, I should look through these things because the ticket could be in there. But whilst I was going, whilst I was going through the boxes, I recall that when I did lose the lotto, I was looking for answers. So I did approach some psychic people, and one guy was a guy, and I won't mention his name, but he knew someone that I knew, and he had said to me, "Oh, they're in the tickets in the block. there's black boxes in your garage and your tickets in there. And I thought I'd gone through all the boxes, and I kind of have. And when you're a hoarder, you put things somewhere else, and then you clear one section, you put things somewhere else, and then you start moving things over to the other section, but you haven't fully cleared one section. So, but it's a bit hard to describe. But in short, I haven't gone through everything because it's too massive a job. And in between buying the ticket, my mum passed away, and I'd spent like about 9 months in the state with her. So, I haven't spent every waking hour going through stuff. And because the hoard is so great, I suppose you just get on with your life and do other things because it's very taxing. I mean, I'll give you another look at this. That's just one box and it's got ant nests and everything in it. But, okay, a psychic guy said to me, yeah, it's in the black box. And I thought, well, how does he know I've got black boxes? But the thing is that he actually knows a friend of mine who I had told the lotto story to about how I had put things in a red basket and in a pink folder, and like in between, my son had had an accident before that, but we were going from state to state, seeing the medical and legal people, and seeing my mum in between. So I hadn't spent a lot of time trying to physically look for the ticket. I actually thought that it had dropped because it was a ticket that from the day that I got it, like when I'd bought it, I'd gone to Coles directly after. Incidentally, it was in the line of surveillance, but there was no surveillance. And I remember buying some mints or something for tea because that's what I'd gone into Coles for. And I actually remember I had post office bag and the ticket, and it was on the conveyor belt, and I dropped it a couple of times there. So it was almost like I wasn't meant to have this ticket. It hadn't won yet because I'd only just bought it, and the draw was later that evening. But the other thing was, a few days later, it was Australia Day, and my son had gone to a party. So I was really worried for him because he'd just, gotten over, being in intensive care and in hospital for 2 weeks. So I was a bit worried about him drinking and stuff. Like he was 20, but I was worried about him. And I'd gone to this party to pick him up a few times, and it was cyclone season, so it was a lot of rain, and that was really across the road from where I'd bought the ticket. But it was in an industrial area, but it was a suburban street with some industry as well. Um, anyway, my son didn't want to come home from that party, so it was the next day, which was the Australia Day holiday, that I'd taken the ticket and I'd sat at the casino in front of a poker machine, and I won't show you 'cause I'm only half dressed, but I'll just show you this. Like, say that's my bag. Out of my bag, a few times did the ticket drop. I remember picking it up twice, and then I remember this old couple coming over and giving me a scratchy because they had promotional scratchies for Australia Day. Now, when I'd realised that the ticket had won, like say about 3 days later, I so that's already a week after the ticket was purchased. I look, I remembered the numbers because they were quite specific, and the first one being my mum's anniversary, and the second one being my auntie's death date. So when I'm going through these boxes here, I'm finding things which is letters written to births, deaths, and marriages about this guy trying to claim my auntie's will. We managed to stop the probate, but um, of this guy and produce the will that my aunt, the latest will of my aunt. But this guy then turned around and he was with wills and the like the government public trustees, and they tried to say that my aunt's last will was fake, and um and that he was her husband. Um, I think at this stage, Centrelink didn't know that they were a couple because they never were. But later, look, we had to try and stop the guy. Look, um, but anyway, while I'm going through all this stuff, I, 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 I'm telling you also that the day that I chose the lotto numbers, it was just a random event, but it was my parents' anniversary and my mum was ill and we were far away from them and my son was trying to get over an accident. So he wanted to buy this mag and um anyway this skateboard mag was only listed in two shops in Cairns, so that's what brought us to the store for me to decide to buy a lotto ticket. And funny that the two magazines that my son's friends were in were Slam and Thrasher. Incidentally, my nephew's in a surf skate punk band and they're friends with Amel and the Sniffers. And they were to go touring this May in the States, but they couldn't go because of COVID. Anyway, so yes, my son wanted to buy this skateboard magazine, so I ended up in the store. And the other highlight bad thing that happened was that our family dog had been put down. So I'm going to get quite upset here. So this is why I've got such a horde of things to go through, and I'm upset because I found, some of my great aunt's paperwork, and as much as I got to see it before she passed, we didn't know that she was ill, and her handyman had something to do with her death, but it's very hard to prove. Even the funeral director, when I rang him, told me he thought he was very suspicious of the guy, and he had said to me that she may be buried, but it doesn't mean they can't um, go and dig her out because my aunt had passed away. Well, she hadn't passed away at this stage, but she passed away on the 26th of January, and my parents' anniversary was the 22nd of January, and that was the day that I bought the lotto ticket. And why I'm upset again is because I'm finding, paperwork. Sometimes I find my mum's old menus from the hospital, things like that, or um, things to do with my aunt when we were trying to say to births, deaths, and marriages, this guy who was a handyman signed his name as my aunt's husband's name, and that's fraud. And they just said like it was a typo. Anyway, he got away with inheriting with a will that he falsely made. But look, it's all gone now, so there's nothing we can do. But like that particular day that I'd found out about our family dog getting put down, and my mum's anniversary, my son being unwell, and um, when I was thinking about numbers, I went from my mum and dad's anniversary to my aunt's death date, and again, full circle, I'm finding things from that era now as I'm going through things. I do remember mum and dad had both been in hospital on um, on the week that we actually had to suss out where my great aunt was because this handyman guy he kept picking up her phone when we were trying to find out where she was, and he'd say she's asleep. So he did not want us to know. He actually said, well, "I'm not going to tell you when she goes to hospital." So we had to ring her all the time, and she was an older. aunt. She was a great aunt, so we were concerned for her, and we lived a fair way away from her. Um, when my great uncle had passed away, my family had said, you know, Auntie, come and live with us, like as in a family, an extended family. But she was used to living on a farm, and this handyman guy came into the picture. Apparently, one of my mum's friends that he would frequent RSLs and hook up with women who were nearly widowed. So that was his scam. So he'd done it before. But anyway, my aunt liked his company, so we let it go. But we were always looking out for her, and he was such a liar. And yeah, he got away with getting all that my uncle had worked for. They had about 7 properties. My dad even got some money from overseas once from my great aunt's husband's brother, and my dad was very kind. He didn't have to because it was given to my dad, but he actually um, went thirds and gave some to his sister and gave some to my great aunt. And of course, you know, the handyman guy. Like, I went to visit my aunt one day, and we went to a club, and she didn't play the pokie machines, but he played 2 machines, hitting $5 and $10 at a go, and he was meant to be on disability pension. So who can afford to do that if you're on disability pension? And my aunt basically lost 7 properties to the guy. We didn't know, but when we um, found out when she was on her, you know, like when she was in hospital, and prior to that, when she'd written a will, she'd left everything to my dad and her sister overseas, and we found out like at probate time that she actually only had one property left, the property that she lived in. And I think my uncle had been gone maybe 14 years. So in 14 years, my great aunt had lost 6 properties. Anyway, look, I'm really talking too much, but that's also why when I realised that I won the lotto, I thought, oh, it's all coming back. Aunt, in a funny way, Aunt is helping us out. Anyway, so in short, I'm going through a big cleanup, and and yes, a clairvoyant guy told me that it was in some black boxes, and there's about one more black box that I haven't gone through. That I'm a bit embarrassed to show you my floor, but there's a few of these boxes on the floor. There's one more that I haven't retrieved from the garage, which like may have some evidence. Like I know I've got a bag of tickets, old lotto tickets dating back over 20 years, but I don't know if I'd taken them to Sydney, and I've looked around there, and my brother has a habit of throwing things out, even surfboards. I used to surf. I'd gone to Bells Beach twice even in my youth and competed, and we had a bit of we our skeleton like yeah, well, we've got a skeleton in the closet in our family, like a lot of families, and one of those is a family member who is a pedophile, in short, and, and it's affected people in our family. And where I keep everything, I have a family member that throws everything away. So this family member, and it's really upsetting because if I go to my family and they live near a beach, I would like to go out the water, but if you have no board, you can't go. Anyway, what I will mention now, because I'm getting upset and I can't really talk properly, is that I found things like this. This is what I found today. This is the back of the lotto ticket. Now, it could be the one. I don't know because I haven't been through everything, but I cannot. I don't know how to take it off. I mean, I wish I had a device that I could look through and see the number. I mean, it's only short and usually only pick four squares. So there you go. There's what could be a $2 million winning lotto ticket. So I'm just going to have to keep that and try and work out what to do with it. I mean, it'd be lovely if I could take it off look. I'm going to have to go on YouTube and try and work out. Is there any device? I've seen these painting shows where they go with a CAT scan and they look at paintings and they look at, the layers of paintings and the canvas that is used. So maybe there's something like that. I tried once before with a ticket stuck on a magazine and had given it to a chemical engineer at New South Wales Uni, and he said yes, he could remove it, but it came back worse than what it was, what state it was in. I was really excited. Even I remember going to Sydney and I was on the plane and I had contacted Current Affair because they once contacted me after I'd heard about a story, and I said yes, it was my winning ticket, and they basically said to me they wouldn't help me. They said, um, "Oh, we thought you'd won." I said yes, but I lost the ticket. "Oh well, we can't help you. Let us know when you find the ticket." As if I would let them know when I found the ticket. Like, yeah. I mean, I'm happy to be alive, but it is a bit of a journey. Um, and I just hope that I can say I've gone right through my place and that I've either found the ticket or not. And I'll just keep finding for it till January next year. But yeah, have another look. This could be a lotto ticket that's worth a lot of money, but it's stuck to, it's actually, I think, a washing machine manual. Oh no, actually, it's not. Restore factory default. It's a computer or something. I don't want to wreck it too much, but I'm going to have to not lose that. And I'm just going to continue to keep sorting this mess here. You can see that. I mean, the ants, cockroaches. Oh, I don't know what that is. But look, they're the sort of things that I've kept and I have to really look at. Maybe I'll find a receipt from the day even. Because look, this looks to be a receipt. Oh, actually, this is when Dad was writing to us when we lived uh, here, but um, he wrote to Edge Hill when we had a PO box there, but that post office is even gone now. I think it went in 2011. And my dad recycles. Look, he's written on the back of some Japanese paper, and it's the Cafe Misha Edge Hill cans. Okay, I'm just going to keep on going with this box. Thanks for listening. Hope everyone's well. And wow, I hope I find this lotto ticket. Then the skip bin's going to get full. Thank you.